All right, everybody. Welcome to Heathens of D&D. This is the first campaign that we're going to be playing here, Dusts of the Past. We are super excited. This campaign has been planning for a really long time. So before we jump in, we'll just go ahead and introduce ourselves real quick. My name is Scott. I'm going to be the dungeon master here, and then we'll just go along in the order. You can just give your first name of who you are, an actual person. We'll wait a sec for your characters. We'll just go in the order that I see you. Go ahead, Cameron.
I'm Cameron. I'll be Jasper the Bard.
All right. Mariah.
Hi, I'm Mariah. I don't have my camera on because my hair is having a fun little moment today. We're experimenting with it, but I'm going to be playing Caylona Carré.
Emma.
Hello, I am Emma, and I'm going to be playing Zephyrus Brimstone, the monk.
Tobin.
Hi, I'm Tobin. I use any pronouns, and I'm going to be playing a person who you'll meet.
Good intro.
You'll definitely meet them.
They definitely exist.
Oh, yeah.
And Jason.
Hello, I am Jason. I will be playing a big metal lizard.
Big metal friend.
All right. Jasper.
Yes.
The day has finally arrived. It is Zol. You are just reaching the end of your theater practice in the Stargazer. From your position here, you can just barely see the sun up above the massive towers of Sharn. And above that, you can see the Skyway floating, but you can see that coming down where the sun is at, it is that time. It will take you about an hour to get over to Sindra Sylvain's state over in the Oak Tower Ward in North Edge, and it is about an hour until your meeting time.
Time to head over there. As much as I would love to go tell my parents in all of my excitement, I don't have the time right now.
All right, so Jasper,
This is not something I want to be late for.
So you rush out, waving a quick goodbye to your fellow theatrical performers. The Stargazer Theater, being an open air theater as it is, doesn't have a very large backstage. So you kind of slip off the edge and go off to the side, and there's some costume and makeup warehouses right next to it. But you weren't in either of those. This wasn't a costume rehearsal for a play that you were going to be in, but if all goes well today, then you'll be doing something a little more important than just another play. And you rush from Memphis to crossing the bridges. This time of day in the upper city, Sharn is still packed. You can see people of all individuals coming in and out. There are crowds of people who are picking up and leaving from the rehearsal in the Stargazer. People will come and stop you rehearse and stop by to watch you rehearse in the Stargazer as it is, and you allow them to do that, as it usually means that people will buy tickets. And you continue to head through, and you cross down the very familiar web of bridges of Sharn, going up and down and across, moving around the large towers as you continue on your way towards North Edge. North Edge isn't a place where you've spent a particular lot of time, except for visiting Sindra, but when you and your family go and visit her in her estate, as you continue forward. You pass through the flashing lights of Upper Central and the crowds of people moving throughout all the districts and moving around. Sharn is, of course, a city full of constant variety and constant noise, but it's noise that you've grown up with and you're used to. There is still quiet tension here, but in Memphis and Central, it seems to be downplayed, especially this high up in the city. As you continue to cross forward, looking down over the bridges, you can see it descending hundreds and hundreds of thousands of feet downwards beneath you, and upwards. You continue to glance, catching through the massive spires occasional glimpses of the sun trying to rush over to North Edge. When you cross through Central across the large bridge to North Edge, the crowds quiet down quite a bit, and you can see now that you're in a much more residential district. There are, instead of shops and warehouses and entertainments calling your attention at every corner, there are large the towers that are rising above have side spires that are set off on them as they go around, and the bridges that cross in between them and the paths around them set it up all facing towards the outside, the outer edge of North Edge. And as you get closer, you find yourself on the familiar street or familiar district of Oak Towers. And Oak Towers has lots of wooden styles, specifically the Areni elf style is usually what a lot of these buildings are made out of. So they have sloping roofs, which aren't really roofs in Sharn. They just stick out a couple feet from the front of the tower. And this high up to the top, you can see the edges of the tower itself, and then just the skyway up above you. And you can't really see any buildings on the skyway, just occasional sky coaches floating up and down, as well as the cloud-like underneath of it. As you move forward, you pass these houses, and this part of the Oak Towers is half built on the sides of a bridge, and then it butts up against one of the tower edges, which is where Syndra's house is. But the massive wall itself in front of you has large windows placed into it, so you can see the incredible view from standing well over a mile up in the air, and being able to see Corvair out all in front of you. And off to your, as you continue forward, you can see Syndra's estate. It is not small by any means, but it is not quite as massive as the aristocratic houses that you passed in Crystal Bridge, that district that you were in a little earlier. And as you move forward, you can see there aren't that many people here. Most of the people who are moving are servants tending the various gardens that are laid near these houses, as this is one of the only places in the city where you can actually get sunlight. And you walk towards her, the outer door there, and you can see the outer door of Syndra's estate is inscribed with all of these complex patterns reminiscent of the kind of ancient artifacts that you see pulled from Zendrick, as is her style. And there are two massive wooden doors made out of solid stained oak. And then rising up, her estate specifically is built into the side of the tower. So her estate goes 3 stories up, but there's another estate that is stacked on top of hers, and then another one on top of that before you reach the edge or the top of this portion of Sharn. And next to her, there are several as well, as this is the outer wall of North Edge, it moves. It's a quite expansive area. But I mean, you're used to that. You find the idea of buildings that aren't built all on like a circular shape a little weird. You're not really used to that. I mean, you've left Sharn a couple of times, but seeing buildings shaped like squares was honestly just kind of odd to you. Why would you build in a square when you could build in a perfectly good circle? Get more buildings
Circles
that
are
way.
efficient. Who needs corners?
And as you, so you are now standing outside of this estate. You've been waiting for this meeting for a week now. After you got that letter, how you feeling, Jasper?
Nervous, excited. The rush of adrenaline is finally hitting again, and I'm ready to start this adventure.
Beautiful. Caylona.
Yes.
You arrive after a 6-hour ride on the lightning rail to a station in Sharn. Outside of your window, you could see Sharn coming. I mean, who could miss it? The place is made out of hundreds of towers sticking up thousands of feet straight up into the air, miles tall, filled with people and all of those incredible sights that you've only experienced a few times before. It still is enough to take your breath away. As you slide in to the station, a Warforged train attendant walks down wearing just a vest and a hat with a surprisingly tinny, high-pitched voice, announces to the entire train, her voice seeming to echo across the entire lightning rail instead of just to your specific car where you can see her. Welcome to Sharn. We are arriving at Terminus Station. And then the crowds pour off, all sorts of different people, all kinds of different travelers. You're not traveling in the more aristocratic side, so you see all kinds of interesting people. You see various other Warforged. You even see what you think is a goblin or two. Maybe there's an orc in there. And elves, dwarves, halflings. Sharn really does live up to its reputation of being a very varied place to live. So grabbing your pack and heading off the train, you find yourself in a packed station. Now down here, you can't, all you see is this place itself and then the unicorn symbol of House Orion displayed in large banners everywhere. You also see throughout just the crowd of buzzing people and noise coming everywhere that there are several kiosks of some of the other dragon marked houses, like House Civis for connecting messages, as well as Divinite for anybody who needs investigative services right off the bat or protection. You see a dwarf standing on a platform, wearing an Orion uniform, shouting out across the crowd. And what seems to be repeats just like, "New arrivals to Sharn, new arrivals. If you're looking for taxis, much faster way to go. You can find them on the right side." And then he points over, and you can see several carriages that are sitting there. And then he says, "Behind that are the sky coaches." And behind them, you can see what looks to be these beautifully designed, what looks like almost ships, except for something a little different, is that they are hovering in the air, and they have long fins behind them and ornate gold decorating the sides, as well as proud coach drivers standing next to them with a stair platform that is rolled up to the side for people to board the sky coaches. So, Caylona, what would you like to do?
So it's the taxis or the ships?
Pretty much, yeah. You see some carriages, and then there's some of those ships. They seem to be called sky coaches.
Okay. Without hesitation, Caylona just immediately heads for the carriages.
All right, so you walk up to the carriage, and you see a finely dressed man with hair that is dark brown and silvering at the side, waiting next to the carriage. And as you walk up, he says, "Can I interest you in a carriage ride?"
Yes, please. And then she like pulls out her money bag, like just waiting for him to tell her how much it is.
As he's about to open his mouth, you hear another voice shouting from behind you, and it says, Hey, don't listen to that guy. I'll give you a ride way faster, way quicker. I'll take care of it. You don't worry about it. We'll get you wherever you need to go real nice and quick."
She turns around to look at him. What does he look like?
So looking behind you, you expect to see a person. And instead what you find is a horrific rock staring at you. And you see crouching there, about as tall as you are, is a thick-limbed stone creature with wings spread out and a beat-up uniform across it. And he gives you a stony grin, and he says, "Trust me, sweetheart, you knew Sean, but I'll get you anywhere you need to go real nice and quick."
She just like looks at him and she's like, "What am I supposed to do? Ride you like a horse?" She's like, "No, I'm not gonna ride with you." And she like turns back to the other guy.
"I'm glad some people have taste around here," he says, glaring at the gargoyle. And some other workers with the Orion uniform come over to kind of shoo him away. And he says, "What? I'm a legal taxi. You can't do this," as they're kind of pushing him away. And as he's going, the taxi driver, he says, "I apologize for the way that some people treat our clients. Where would you be interested in going today?"
Where is Syndra's estate again?
Syndra's estate is in Upper North Edge, which is about a mile straight up from where you are right now, and it is also pretty far across. So you are in, and this isn't something that you necessarily know really well. You kind of know the names, but you haven't been to Sharn enough to really pick up the full layout, and the city is way too complex for somebody who's only been here a couple times to really understand how it works.
Yeah.
You are in Tavrick's Landing, and in order to get to North Edge, in Upper North Edge specifically, you need to go up a lot and not a ton forward, but it'll probably be a decently lengthy carriage ride. But you arrived early enough to the city that shouldn't be a problem. So specifically, you are trying to, if you want to go straight to Syndra's house, she lives in the Oak Towers district.
Okay. So she's just going to tell the guy that she needs to go to the Upper Towers district, and she asks how much it's going to be.
Well, if you need to go to Oak Towers, that would be, and he kind of counts it up. And then he says, that will be a silver for you.
She just reaches in her purse and hands it to him without saying anything.
And for your reference, a silver is 1/10 of a gold.
Okie dokie. Sounds good.
Then he opens the carriage door, and you see the 2 horses that pull it are just kind of sitting there waiting. They seem to be well trained. They also have the Orion signature on them, but much smaller. on the saddles of the horses, as well as on emblazoned on the edge of the carriage. And he, you step into the carriage, he says, "Don't you worry, ma'am. This will only take a couple hours." And then he closes the door, and you move off on your way. As you continue through, the traffic in the station is pretty crazy. There are people everywhere here of all kinds of races and things that you rarely see elsewhere, in such great numbers here in Sharn, not to mention the amount of dragon marked that people have wearing the signature of the dragon marked houses is far more than you've seen pretty much anywhere else, unless you're standing in a dragon mark enclave. But it seems to you that Sharn is basically a dragon mark enclave for every house. And as you continue upwards, you cross bridges and go around all of these areas. You can see that there are all kinds of food and lodging places. As you continue on up onto past one district, you can see that there is a massive dragon made out of red illusory material drinking a mug in front of a bar on those towers that continue to go incredibly high upwards. You cannot see the sun at all down here. The only illumination comes from lamps that are glowing all across. And the towers just seem to go impossibly far upwards. As you continue to move, you eventually cross onto a large platform, which, when you and several other coaches are atop it, slowly move upwards. On all that you can see is a thin magical thread bringing them further up. And you continue to cross through all of these varying platforms and streets and bridges and this just complex maze of life that Sharn is. The whole time, as you're getting higher, it is a little bit of a comfort to you. Sharn is the closest to the shore you've been in a long time. While not technically a coastal city, it's pretty darn close. So getting up off that ground or off that level down low is definitely not something that you mind.
Nope.
Is there anything that you're doing in this coach ride as you're heading towards Sindra Sylvan's estate?
She's kind of just watching everything. Like, she's trying not to be distracted or anything like that. She's looking at her surroundings, really analyzing and trying to take it all in. She's always been a huge people watcher, so when there was a lot of people around, she was like analyzing everyone. But now that they're up in the air, she's just like looking at the terrain and everything.
So you continue to go upwards and on this maze of bridges, and you notice that so in the lower area where you were at, it was just packed. There are people everywhere. In these upper areas, there are still tons and tons of people, but less so. And then you cross over a particularly large, wide bridge that has hundreds of people on it and dozens of coaches, and it kind of extends over this space that just drops out, and off to the side here you can actually see there's a mountain range, but you're at this point standing close to, or Sharn is basically built into the side of a mountain range, but you can actually see the sea out in the distance from in between two wards as you're crossing over this massive bridge. And you move from there, along with dozens of other stagecoaches, onto the North Edge district. And when you hit the North Edge district, you the crowd thins. It's still considered a crowd, but the higher up you get, the slower you go. You see that people start dressing nicer. Where you first were at, especially in some of those travel things, there were plenty of seedy folk, the kind of people that you've had experience with before and can easily recognize. But up here, as you're going, as soon as you land in North, or as you arrive in North Edge and you start going up, taking more of those platforms that seem to just slide on these thin little glowing strands of magic, you start to see that the crowds are dressed much nicer. There are less people who are wearing more seedy clothing, and you also see an increase in the number of members of the Charm Watch, who are all walking around, glaring at anybody who looks unscrupulous and like they don't belong in some of these higher end districts. Then after about 2 hours of riding, you come into view of these large mansions, which are built still into the side of the towers, but they are they extend out just a little bit and have additional spires added on as they go upwards. You also start to see that it opens up a little bit, and there are gardens and fountains and public areas in this part, instead of just doors to entry and to get your way into businesses and thoroughfares completely packed full of people and carriages trying to bust their way through. So as you move through this place, you can see the sun again facing towards the land of Carré this time, the beautiful scenery that you can see out that way, being this high in the air. And you can see that the sun is starting to dip behind the horizon and off to the east. You can just barely see it now, and it appears you have arrived just in time to make it to your meeting with Syndra. And as you go, you see Syndra's mansion, which is about 3 stories high, with this very flowing style that this particular part of the district has. A lot of wooden structures, engraved and painted wood, styled in a very like curls and swirls and that sort of thing. Very flowy, not like rigid architecture. And your coach pulls to a stop, and the driver opens the door, and he says, I hope the ride was pleasant for you, ma'am.
She says, yes, it was. And then she pulls out another piece of silver and hands it to him and just leaves without saying anything.
He kind of opens his mouth to object, but then you start walking away, and he just definitely places it in the pocket and moves on. Yep. Then you move forward to Syndra's mansion itself, and outside you see walking up to the mansion, seeming to be almost preparing himself for something. Cameron, could you please describe what your character looks like?
You see a 6'4", muted green skinned, bright orange haired orc man standing with more confidence than probably anyone in this city ever will stand with. The most gaudy jacket you've ever seen that he does not own. He stole from a costume rack at one of the stages. a large hat with a bright feather in it, and a sword that he probably also didn't own but took from a stage somewhere, with a large orange glass jewel in its hilt.
Mm-hmm.
And he's standing with pride, looking ready for an adventure.
Aw, how cute. Okay, she like sees that, rolls her eyes, kind of just, and then like tries her best to like not be seen by this person and keeps going.
All right. So you move right on past Cinder's mansion, pretending that you have no intention of being there in the first place. Jasper, you've been standing outside dramatically for about 10 minutes now.
Just waiting.
Just sort of hanging
I've
out
knocked
there.
on the door a couple times. Just, hello? I have an appointment.
All of a sudden, the door swings open, and Caylona, you can see this as well, assuming you're still keeping an eye on the mansion. But you see a well-dressed human attendant, looks to you, and it's an aging gentleman, and he raises an eyebrow at you, Jasper, and he says, "You have a reason for being here.
I got a letter."
May I see this letter?"
He kind of pats his pockets, trying to remember which one he put it in, and he reaches into his jacket pocket and pulls out the letter that he got and hands it to this gentleman.
He glances it over, and then the stiffness vanishes from his face, and he says, "Ah, yes, Master Jasper, we are so excited to have you here today. Welcome in, please."
Surprised you didn't recognize me.
He winks at you, and he says, You have to forgive me for giving you a hard time. It is my job after all."
I understand. Now,
He brings you into the parlor, and he says, "You are the first of our guests to arrive today. And it's been such a long time since I've seen your parents. How are they?"
they're doing well. Father was finally able to retire. He's excited that I'm going out on my own adventures. Mother is obviously very nervous, but my sister, she's doing well in her businesses. Heard she's getting a promotion soon, but as of right now, my parents are just enjoying their time at home.
Oh, that's excellent. They should enjoy your retirement. Your father achieved much good work for this household. And he nods, and stepping into Syndra's inner chamber, to this waiting chamber. There are chairs that are sitting around. It has open windows that are a green color, so that the light kind of comes in filtered that way, with these swirling patterns on the outside. But you're aware that Syndra has enchanted them so that nobody can see in, only she can see out of these grand windows. And this waiting chamber has on its upper mantle display, Syndra always liked to laugh and tell you she used it as her intimidation factor, but you see trophies from her adventures, which includes some quite impressive artifacts, full suits of armor, heads of incredibly rare creatures and massive monsters, such as Tyrannosaurus heads, as well as all kinds of strange and interesting objects that you've never seen, fruits that seem to, or varied varieties of plants seem to be frozen in these glass cases that are put in this upper room. And this room goes all the way up. It's a very tall ceiling as well, so that this display of all of her various collection of items goes all the way up to the second floor, just creating this very grand entryway to her estate and establishing her position as an adventurer and collector right off the bat. As you're kind of glancing around, you know this gentleman's name is Gerald, and he's known you and your family for years. He's been Syndra's head servant for as long as you can remember. And he chuckles as you're glancing around at this and things like, and says, "One of these days you'll be able to have trophies of your own like that. Apparently, those days are coming soon."
I'm quite excited. Hearing all the stories of how each of these trophies were won and acquired, it's always been a joy of mine. And now, hopefully soon, I get to be part of that story on my own. Story of my own.
Caylona, do you continue moving past? So you see this half-orc is let in to Syndra's mansion after presenting a letter to a man at the front door.
Mm-hmm. So Caylona, when she finally realizes, she's like, okay, I guess he's part of this. She walks back over to the entrance, like pulling out her letter, just kind of ready to give it to him, and just like walks in without hesitating. Like she doesn't even wait at the door if it's still open. She just goes in.
So you go to open this door and discover that it is locked, but after only a couple seconds of waiting, a man opens the door, well-dressed older gentleman wearing just very fine vest, suit. He has light lavender colored bow tie, and he just raises one eyebrow. And you have seen him before. You haven't interacted with him a whole lot. You haven't really, like, you've been here a couple times, but at first he sees you, but then he goes, "Oh, Caylona, my friend, it is good to see you. Come in quickly." And he ushers you inside.
She just lets him. She just kind of like nods and just quietly goes in.
All right. You see Jasper standing there. Now, Mariah, can you describe to me what Caylona looks like?
So Caylona looks very human-like. She's like 5'3", so kind of short, but she's like kind of built. She's kind of toned. She has this light brown, like tanned skin that you can tell isn't entirely natural. She just spends a lot of time in the sun. But then she has this curly hair, like really curly hair, and it's half blonde on the bottom, and then like the very thin layer on the bottom, and then the rest of it is like this really dark brown. And she has these really, really green eyes. And she gives off the vibes of like Megara from Hercules the entire time that she's anywhere.
Amazing. So Jasper, you see her walking in.
Jasper is kind of quietly like drumming on his thighs, just kind of waiting for stuff, humming some songs to himself as he sees Caylona wander in, and he turns and, "Ah, are you another adventurer that got invited here?"
She just kind of lightly smiles and she's like, "Yes, that would be me. What's your name?"
Jasper thrusts his hand forward for a handshake. I'm Jasper. I would hope you've heard of me.
She's like, I have not, but it's nice to meet you. And then she just like doesn't touch his hand and she just says, I'm Caylona.
He keeps his arm out, waiting for a handshake longer than it would be awkward. So he kind of just, oh, okay, puts his arm back down to his side and continues to kind of drum on his thighs.
She's just quiet. She's like super quiet as a person. So she's like, whatever. And it's just like looking around at stuff.
I imagine we'll probably be working together. If so, you seem like you can hold your own on an adventure.
Why, thank you. Yeah, we should be working together. She told me that she was gathering more people than I assume 2 of us. So there's probably going to be more as well.
Well, 2's not much of an adventuring party, but I've heard stranger stories.
Yes, I have as well.
Div, and it looks like Mirasandra. You have just finished dining at a tavern or an inn in Lower Tavrick's Landing.
Tavrick's Landing, my beloved. Sorry, I'll stop nerding
Shut
out
up.
about this campaign setting that we're in.
Okay, I love it too. That's why we're here.
Someone says the word Sharn, and Tobin's just over there having a conniption the whole time.
I
It's
love
great.
Sharn, you guys. Sorry.
So, dining is
Too
really
much.
an exaggeration of what you've been doing. You've more just been kind of sitting here. You arrived here yesterday on a lightning rail, and the funds in the system kind of went there to get you here. So
We're not very liquid at the moment.
go ahead and describe your characters for me. Let's start with Mirasandra.
Mirasandra is very kind of tall and slim right now. She's got dark skin and this long, like, moon white hair. She is in these very nondescript clothes, which seem a little weird. Like it seems like if she had the access to it, she would be the most flamboyant dresser that could ever be imagined. Like she wants to dress like Jasper, but circumstances require otherwise. She has rabbit ears.
Unfortunately, she is poor.
Yeah, she has rabbit ears, kind of poking up from through her long, kind of frizzy white hair, and she has this. It looks like a tattoo of this purple flower over her eye, almost like an eye patch, and it moves, just kind of drifting. Like there's wind in those tattooed petals. It's just kind of moving as she's sitting incorrectly on the bar stool with her. She's like eyeing the beverages. She wants them, but she's restraining herself.
Like everyone, you're looking at the price. You're like, oh, I can't afford that.
Yeah, exactly. She's like, I
afford that.
want some tea. Like I would. She probably says that. She kind of leans over to Div and she's like, but I wouldn't give for some tea right now, my good friend.
Div, or Jason, describe Div for me, please.
Div is a 6'6" metal lizard, essentially. He's a warforged that looks like a dragonborn. He's pretty beat up. His eyes are kind of where his eyes should be are just kind of holes, kind of veiled over by magic just to keep in the lava that is running through his system and powers him. He doesn't really have much in the way of clothes, like most Warforged. At most, he just has like an item like a tool belt and kind of burned and tattered Syrian flag around his shoulders. On his back is a still pretty soot covered and a little bit rusted from use. What's the word? Mace. That's what it is.
I should mention, because I forgot to, Mirasandra's earrings. She has a very large collection of charm earrings.
Div can't see.
You can't see. I love him. He's my favorite, actually. Fun facts with Tobin.
You've gotten, or should I say, Mirasandra, you've seen more than one person give Div not so disguised glare. Div doesn't really notice because when people turn his head towards him, that's about all the detail he gets. But you've seen many a person give Div and that flag glares of suspicion, or occasionally you've seen somebody give him a nod of respect. And if you can pick that up when somebody turns their head towards you and nods, you generally assume that it means something towards you.
Mirasandra's been counting.
It's something.
Every time she sees a nasty glare, she like holds herself a little higher, twitches an ear at Div and says, "That's another one."
I
would rate that one.
My hit list gets
10
longer.
times in the last 10 minutes, and
Yeah.
that pattern has continued the entire time you've been in Sharn.
Exactly.
Div just like reaches and like puts his hand on Mirasandra's shoulder. I'm sure in a gesture he has done many times with her specifically. And he just goes, "Calm yourself. They are not going to do anything inside of a tavern."
Oh, I'm never calm, Div. I just think this place is neat. It's so full of dreams. Can't you taste them? I love this place.
I think you misunderstand exactly how many senses I possess.
Oh yeah, you can't taste either or smell. You've got like 2 things going for you.
I am able to smell.
My apologies. That was an assumption I should not have made. Please forgive me. She kind of laughs.
No, however, will you repent for this?
I won't. But thanks for the thought. Do you think that we could do you think they take credit here? Like if I helped out, do you think they'd give me tea? We're on a clock. I shouldn't do that.
The barkeep, who's a busy halfling woman, walks up to you. The counter behind the bar is higher than the floor itself, so she stands level or somewhat level with you.
I love her.
And she kind of runs over, and she seems to be running all over the place. There are 4 barkeeps, and this place is completely packed. It is huge. As it goes back, and it's just a spiral inwards, and there are stairs upwards as well. It's an inn so that people can stay here. And she says, "We haven't done with the credit option yet, but if you wait until next week, it's exciting and new, and we're going to start."
Oh, that's lovely. How long have you guys been working on that? You seem quite excited.
Oh, we're very excited. We've been trying to get the process together for a long time. There are plenty of people like you who don't have any cash, or and she kind of like leans down a little conspiratoriously towards you, or well, they lose it all on the more nightly activities. But we think that all people deserve to come to Sharm and be welcomed with a nice warm cup of tea.
That's a lovely thought. I wish that I had until next week, but...
Oh, you're just passing through?
Yes, just passing through, as I'm sure you've seen many a time. Me and my friend here are on our way to the Skyway, actually.
To the Skyway? Wow, you must have some good contacts up there. And she kind of like looks at you just like, okay, kind of.
Yeah.
Sure,
Like,
yeah.
we're so broke right now. It's not even
How
funny
can
how
these
broke we are.
very homeless people have contacts in the skyway?
She
You cannot look more homeless.
You can see that in her eyes, but her expression doesn't change. Like this smile, and she says, "Oh well, I hope you'll give us another visit down here before you have to leave. Do you have somewhere that you're staying tonight?"
There's a conspicuous silence. I think that we were planning to figure that out as the issue arose. Let's just say that. Although my friend here doesn't sleep.
I am quite comfortable in most places, yes.
He has lived in a ditch before. So have I, but it's that's neither here nor there.
Ah, I see. Well, I assure you that our rooms are quite a bit more comfortable than a ditch.
Yes, the side of the road, I'm sure that you could do quite better than that. You look like you run a lovely establishment. Is this yours, or are you just employed here?
And she kind of puffs herself up a little bit at the compliment, and she says, "Well, it's not mine alone, but I am one of the senior managers. I've been here for quite some time. Tell me," and she looks at Div. I will have to apologize. We don't have any items catering to Warforged here. You'll have to go to the lower districts, and you're already on lower Tavix landing for that, but that is what you see.
A little bit, like a small amount of like the spark and the friendliness in Mirasandra's eyes fades a bit, but she still smiles. She says, "We appreciate the thought." Div?
Div just kind of like tilts his head to one side. He seems a little bit confused. He says, "Ah, all right. I am simply not hungry, but thank you anyway."
Yeah, yes, of course. Well, I sure hope we'll see you again sometime. And you see a lot of her friendliness is left as she realized that you left without buying anything.
Mirasandra waves happily.
Her attention has already gone off to some other
Who have money,
pairs.
probably,
Like
presumably, actual customers, you know?
We have like $2.
All right. So you two embark up to, or I assume that's what you're doing, right? You can not
Yes.
if you want. Okay. Embark towards upper North Edge, where Sindra lives, and walking throughout the crowd, Mirasandra, you have plenty of occasion to count up the glares that Div gets, especially this low, and you rather quickly just kind of automatically steer Div upwards as fast as you can, taking a couple lifts. You wished you could afford a sky coach or carriage. Or much bank.
We have $1 between us.
A singular dollar left.
But
the constellation holds the entirety of our money, and most of that money
it's
got
$1.
spent on the sky on the lightning rail.
so as you move, you continue to move upwards into Tavrik's Landing, and the places, even though the lower ones are, you're specifically in the Dragon Eyes district, where you see all kinds of shops and entertainment all over the place, people playing music, small street performers that are sitting everywhere. But you continue to go up into districts that are more there. I mean, this is still Tavex Landing of all the districts, and a large portion of Tavex Landing, especially the districts that you're in as you walk upwards, are here to cater to guests and to tourists. And so there's still inns and taverns and people calling out to you, trying to convince you to come see their show or buy the food from the street stand. It's something that would be nice to consider as you continue to move upwards.
Once
Mirasandra
when I
just
was
continuously
here,
pulling the blind card.
Yeah. Once when I was here, I saw the most wonderful show. The theaters here are just amazing, Div. The music too. We got to get you into one of those at some point. While you're still figuring out what's next, I think we could make that happen. Not playing an instrument, of course. I'm not sure that either of us have that specific capacity left in our bones, but it would be nice to listen to. She's just going on like this. Like, she just sounds like every time they hear something or see something, Mirasandra has some memory associated with it, and she just like talks the whole time. She sings along to some of the songs that are played on the streets. She is vibing.
Div
There's like
is
one
half listening to her.
there's like one particular minstrel group that you find that is made up of three shifters who are all playing just the most beautiful stringed instruments while jumping along, just having the most incredible time, it seems, that you stop by and you particularly notice, and you start singing along with you, and they cheer you and kind of invite them into the circle as they dance around for a little bit before Div just kind of like gestures you forward, but
Div just like grabs the bag of her coat and just like lifts her up. It's like, nope, you are my eyes. We need to stay focused.
Div, Sharn has always been confusing. So much noise, so many people, so many 1,000-foot drops built into a 10-foot section, more than should be possible, are really hard to keep track of where you are. So there is more than one occasion where you bump into somebody and catch a glare from them or somebody. There's a couple times, especially when you're in the lower districts, and where people just spit at your feet as you move past them. When you're in the upper districts, people aren't as overtly rude, but there's still plenty of disrespect that happens. Then you continue into North Edge, crossing the massive bridge that just sort of hangs over this huge drop downwards in between Tavex Landing and North Edge. You move forward throughout the districts, all the while Mirasandra prattling off about something that she sees, until you take a couple more lifts upwards, which are those platforms that move on those little thin strands of magic, and you finally arrive in the upper district after a couple hours of walking and pushing through crowds. The upper North Edge, specifically the Oak Towers district, passing the streets now. As you're getting there, you see that there's a pair of guards who walk along, and they stop as they see you two standing there, and they say, "You folk have business here?"
Yes, actually.
And that business is?
Summons. We were summoned. I love getting summoned. It's always such a joy. Sandra, Sylvie. Sorry, my bad. Too many S's in that name.
There's two.
Yeah, her.
One too many.
All right. The guards, there are two of them. They kind of look at you, and they seem like they're not exactly going to take their eyes quite off you. It is a little bit past dusk at this point, so it's getting pretty dark, and it gets dark in Sharn way faster than it gets dark. I mean, when you were down in Taver's Landing, it was dark anyway, so you kind of came back up just to watch the sun leave again. And so it's just barely, it's really gorgeous here. The parks and everything are being illuminated by this orange light coming in from the sunset, which from this high up, nothing interferes with at all. And you can see the large windows set into the outer wall of the North Edge Tower, or one of the North Edge Towers. And you're kind of, as you're standing on this large bridge that crosses in between these two towers, Syndra's estate is the first estate when the actual tower wall starts up again, or one of the tower walls. You two have both been to the estate. Div, I think I guess you've probably both been there equal amount of times. More often when you interact with Syndra, it's not here, but you have been here before. Div, you've been here more times.
Yeah. He's fairly familiar with this particular section of Sharn.
I haven't been
He's
here
got like
in
a 1 block
years.
radius that he has down, and then everything else is,
Sharn is so big. That's so valid.
Sharn is a city that is built like a maze, and it's built like that a mile upwards. So
a maze that was designed by a toddler.
Oh, this place is even more beautiful than I remember it to be. Oh, it's been years, Div. This woman keeps a lovely lawn maintenance employees. Wonderful, wonderful people, all of them.
Yes, her servants are quite nice.
I am going to pick up some of the grass as we are walking. I would like to do that.
all right. So you grab some grass. In Sharn, there were a couple open areas, especially right out in front. This particular bridge is fairly wide, and it's built up against the edge of the tower wall. And there are just a couple grass circles in the middle that have fountains that are going. You don't know where the water could be coming from, but you also know that Syndra lives here, and she makes things happen that you can't explain all the time. So,
Magic.
The water comes up in just these sparkling little crystal displays. And while you're watching it, these glowing lights start to flicker on all across these mansions, which extends tons of 9 stories up above where you are, and hundreds of stories below you. You can see the glowing and flickering lights from down below. You can also see, as it starts to get darker, the lights come on in the skyway as well, blinking on and illuminating the place, making it look almost just like a starry heaven up above you.
Love it. I love it here. Mirasandra is vibing. She's not walking in a straight line, which is perhaps a little inconvenient for Div. As she just kind
Div
of
is
spirals
not
around
following her
herself,
anymore.
looking up in all directions.
You have hit that one bush that you know how to recognize, and you know where you are. So
Yes, exactly. Div is like, I know where the front door is.
So as
He's just kind of keeping tabs on where Mirasandra is, and trying to make sure she doesn't wander off an edge.
So Mirasandra, as you're flitting from place to place, so interesting thing. So you go to some the window displays, you're looking at these flowers, and then you're picking out the grass from around the fountain. As you kind of lean down one more time, the guards start coming back towards you as they see you picking up grass from the ground. At the same time as Div knocks knocks on the door. Caylona and Jasper, you've been here for about 5 or 10 minutes when that knock comes. And the Gerald, he turns and he goes towards the door, nodding to the two of you. It appears another one has arrived.
Gerald, I've always loved that tie. Purple is your color.
He chuckles and he says, "Well, I do appreciate the compliment, Jasper. I don't take this wrong, but you would never be the first person I would go to for fashion advice."
That is
Caylona
fair.
tries so hard not to laugh.
Ratio.
Fair.
And he kind of chuckles, and then he says, "Your mother, on the other hand, though, for being from where she's at, she has an unusually adept understanding of fashion. I don't know why or where she learned it, but I do respect it."
I definitely did not get my fashion sense from her.
No, you got it from your father.
Yo, yes.
And he kind of chuckles as he goes to open the door, a little unfortunately. And he opens the door and he see, then, so Div, you're right there and you see him open the door with just kind of a wry smile on his face. And then his face calms as he turns towards you, and then he looks and he sees Mirasandra. You're flitting near the background, and you hear the door open as you're like staring. It seems that somehow there's some birds that are living here in this little upper place. They can fly in and come down without getting too deep. And so you're trying to get close to one when you hear the door open from behind you.
Div shows up with his toddler.
Mirasandra is delighted by those birds. She hears the door open and kind of stands up and turns around and kind of waves. She says, "Hi, we made it."
The guards are walking towards you as this happens, and he says, and he kind of like glances around, raises one eyebrow towards you, Div, which you can barely tell. You can feel the movement there since he's this close to you. And he says, "I'm glad to see you've made it. It's best you come in, I think."
All right.
Yes,
Can I?
that would be
One
good.
moment. The one moment.
Mirasandra,
turns-
please do not get arrested.
Oh, Div, I only did that once. Twice.
Yes, and it was the worst week of my life. Now please come here.
All right. She like says goodbye to the birds in a language that isn't common, and makes her way back up to
Happy
the.
chirps.
Yeah. She probably says in like Sylvan or something, but she knows a lot of languages, and kind of wanders in behind Div.
All right, so you are once again met by the incredibly impressive state of Sindra Sylvain's welcome parlor. Looking up at the wall full of artifacts around you, you also see standing there Caylona and Jasper. You don't know that's who that is, but you know. Two individuals who you have not met before. And you two see Div and Mirasandra walk in. I'm not going to have them describe themselves again. They already did. So if you weren't paying attention, that's too bad.
More adventurers, I assume?
In a way, I suppose. I
We-
love your jacket.
Thank you. It's kind of become my icon.
Yes, your signature. I do see it. I love the sequins. That one specifically.
That's one of my favorites. Jasper thrusts a hand out for a handshake. I'm Jasper.
Mirasandra happily
Hoping
shakes
you've-
his hand.
Hmm.
She says, "I'm Mirasandra. Scott, I would like to roll insight on Jasper just to see what is his deal, what he's about. If I can read anything from the way he holds himself, what his wants and desires are, all that good stuff."
All right, you just go ahead. Yeah, go roll for that.
What did I
Jasper,
roll?
you're
It's
not
too dark
actively
out here.
being
The what?
You're not actively being deceptive, so we're just gonna see what that
No.
roll is and see what happens.
I got a 17.
Roland.
17. Okay, so looking at Jasper, everything about this dude screams theater kid, pretty much. The way he holds himself with an overconfident but not entirely competent way. It's like he wants to be a warrior but doesn't quite know how that stance looks like. He seems to be puffed up in a way that's like compensating for something, and you're not quite sure what that could be. And he does seem to present, he does seem to be quite eager and earnest in what he said, talking about fellow adventurers. You also notice that he has an ease here, as well as the way that just, you know, the couple glances that Gerald and him have shared just across quick little jokes or something like that, that seems like he has probably been here significantly more than you have, and is probably one of the most comfortable of you actually being here. This is a place that's very familiar to him. Like, you've been here a couple times, Div's been here a couple times. Same with you, Caylona, but and all of you don't consider it a place that's necessarily like not comfortable, but it seems that Jasper is more comfortable than the rest of you being here. Well, you haven't really examined Caylona, so I guess you wouldn't know that, but Jasper is just like,
I'll get to you.
Mask, and it is Sandra.
he's in his place. He's doing his thing.
He is pure of heart and dumb of ass.
I love him. Mirasandra, like she does like a double handshake. Like she like shakes your hand and then she like brings her other hand up to shake your hand. She's so excited. She says, "Oh, you look like a man of theater taste. Let's just say that. Have you seen the Sharn Symphony Orchestra lately? I hear Miles Contrabard does great things."
It's been a while since I've been free enough to go see, but last time I went, it was great. It was a good experience. And
free many performances lately, or have you been otherwise occupied?
I've been doing a lot more performing. Rehearsals have gotten a lot longer in some nights, and just the general work has gotten to me. Not much free time, but
I admire your stick-to-itiveness.
Been able to walk away for this lovely experience. And your friend, who is this?
Mirasandra steps back. She kind of like points to Div in that way that's like, look at him, here he is, the best person in the world. Like, if you don't applaud when he walks into a room, I will kill you. Like that kind of energy.
Jasper shoves his hand out. I'm Jasper, and you are?
Div takes a second to register the movement and, you know, kind of figure out where the hand is before he shakes it. He says, "I am Divinite Flame. It's nice to meet you."
Good to meet you. I hope to do some great work with you on hopefully a great adventure.
Adventure, you say?
Is that not why we're all here?
Troubling.
Well, they're all talking
I suppose
about
we'll find
this.
out.
Mm-hmm.
While they're all talking about this, can Caylona be doing like an insight check on all of them except Jasper? Because she feels like she has the vibe on him.
She doesn't need to do insight on Jasper. She just looked at him once and she's like, "Yep."
Yeah, go for it. Mirasandra, oh, what am I going to have you do here? Okay, so you just go ahead and roll an insight check.
Do you want me to roll deception?
I'm going to say roll performance.
Okay.
I got a 20, by the way.
Okay, good luck.
Like a nat 20?
No, just 20.
Okay.
Oh,
Just making
dirty
sure,
20.
because like I want to know how much chance I have of this.
That'd be so iconic. It's a nat 20.
The answer is still no.
Like the other party member in the first session.
I got a 21.
Oh, applause.
Div, you're not particularly hiding anything, are you?
No.
Yeah, no, you're just kind of doing the thing. Okay, so we'll start with you then. So Caylona, you can, as you see Div come in, Div is covered in dents, in the metal, in his metal, in the metal, this metal, I don't know, however you describe that. There are small patches of rust in between some of the interlocking parts, forming Div's arms, shoulders, and tail. All of it seems to be somewhat worn. Also, just the air that Div has about themselves is that they've experienced a lot of the world with the way that they interact. You can tell that they seem to be somewhat genuine. You'd have to hear more from them, but it doesn't seem like the kind of person who's going to actively harm anyone. Just the kind of person who's experienced a lot of life.
He's like 5.
Yo, you can pack a lot into those 5 years.
You can also tell just by the way that Div stands and moves, with the reactions that he's had to Jasper specifically, that Div is blind as a bat, and cannot see at all.
You can tell because he doesn't have eyes.
It does strike you as a little odd. You've seen Warforged before, right? Like the somewhat humanoid shape creations of House Cannith designed for war, but you've never seen a Warforged like this, one that looks almost lizard-like. Like that is, that strikes you as interesting, unusual. You've never seen that before. It also seems like with most Warforged, you can kind of tell the way that it all interlocks, but it seems that the way that this plating interlocks is more complex than other Warforged that you've seen, more detailed.
Okay.
Then Mirasandra seems to you to be exactly who she looks like. Maybe probably some form of shifter, you would guess, with the rabbit ears, assuming that those are real, which you think that they are. And it seems like she is someone who's just very genuinely excited about pretty much everything. She's excited to be here. You catch her glancing, staring more than once at some exotic things up on the wall, especially some of the more exotic items that you see. But that is all you're able to get from her. She seems genuine to you.
Okay. She kind of just like files these things, and after she realizes this, she kind of loses interest in Mirasandra and like keeps looking at Div over and over because it's like kind of fascinating for her. But
My God, that is a large lizard.
It's kind of just with curiosity, right? Mirasandra, like she wouldn't see any sort of hostility with the way you're looking at Div, correct?
No, yeah, it's more
Please
like
do not
curiosity.
punch the other guests.
I will do it. Don't test me.
You can't punch every person who gives Div a slightly wonky look. You can't do that.
Anyway, sorry to interrupt you, Caylona.
No, she's like got a bit of an RBF, so it might look a little bit intimidating, but like it's with the best intentions, I guess you could say.
Mirasandra kind of like spirals over to her. She looks like with every step she takes, she's just like wanting to see if she can be lighter. You know, it would be cool to, yeah. And she steps up next to you and she says, "Hi. You know Sylvain as well?"
Yes, I do. We're
Um,
old partners. We met a year ago or so.
so after her retired adventurer days,
Yeah.
still merchant work. Are you a merchant as well?
Not exactly. I'm more of a researcher, you could say.
Ah. Mirasandra kind of smiles. She says, "Is that what brought you two together? Were you looking for something interesting? Are you?"
Yeah, exactly. And I just heard that she had a lot of information, and so I mailed her, and then before you knew it, she was just willing to talk to me, and we became friends.
Glad to hear it. Well, certainly she does have an air for collecting stuff. Mirasandra kind of grins as she like gestures around.
She definitely does.
She asks, if it's not too bold of me to ask, what sort of research work do you do nowadays?
Mainly wherever my curiosity takes me.
Woman of my own spirit. Just go wherever. Is Caylona human? Is she like an elf, a half elf?
She looks very human.
Okay.
She's a
Interesting
changeling.
response to that.
Guarantee she's a changeling. Or even cooler, a lycanthrope.
I'm
I would be
green.
friends with a lycanthrope.
Green.
Great, we got green, lizard, and probably 2 changelings.
A bunny?
Bunny?
Funny question mark?
You are Zephyrus. You are standing
Oh, Z! Yes,
in the upper the top floor of Syndra Sylvain's mansion, specifically in her study. She hasn't left here for a couple days now, and so neither of you. And you are sitting here, and you can see she's facing one of her outer windows. This room is a comfortable room with a fireplace and bookcases going up the walls with mats of various locations in Corvair as well as Eberron overall, tacked to the wall. Lots of them with various markings on it, circlings in various other places in Syndra's quick slanting handwriting, noting locations. Syndra herself is sitting in the chair, and as you hear another knock, she says in a voice much raspier than her normal tone, and she goes, "Zephyrus, I think our guests are ready. If you would be so kind as to welcome them and serve them a meal. I think it is rare that many of them eat constantly these days. After they have finished the meal, I can gather my strength, and I think we'll be able to talk."
You'll be all right if I leave.
She kind of chuckles and waves her hand. "I'm not going anywhere, and I'm sure as you know that if anybody tries to harm me," and she lets out a kind of a chuckle that turns into a cough. "Well, even despite this condition, they'll have quite the tough time of it."
I'm sure, but you've seen better days, so
She kind of she lets out another chuckle. "Well, that's true, but that's why we're here, is it not?"
I suppose just don't push yourself and yell as loud as you possibly can if you run into trouble or I don't know, something happens.
Yes, yes. I will.
Right.
Go introduce yourself to the guest.
He's going to straighten and just kind of roll his shoulders a bit and head out of the study towards the knocking and the commotion downstairs or wherever all the stuff is happening.
All right, so you head down the flight of stairs and you come into this grand entryway that Syndra has set up, and you see Gerald there. He seems to be casually standing off to the side, basically being invisible. But you know Gerald, and that man watches like a hawk. So
Doing great.
he looks to you and then nods, and then just taps a little bit on the side of his leg, giving you the signal that all is well, everyone is here, they are who they're supposed to be.
Zephyr's gonna nod back, probably do another little symbol, or signal back, and then he's going to clear his throat, like, welcome everyone. I'm sure you've had a long journey. It's wonderful to have you all here.
What does Zephyrus look like?
As I'll
British.
turn.
This little British lad, I love him.
He's dumb. Basically, you see a tall half elf man, and he is dressed in mostly dark blue. He has kind of like this vest that's looks like it's made of some kind of rough cloth, but he has like not long sleeves underneath. You notice that he has dark purple wraps on his hands, and his hair is bright pink.
Of course it is.
Because he can. He can have that. He deserves it. As of now, he's looking very professional, or at least trying to be. He is a little bit kitschy.
Amazing. Mirasandra turns out of her conversation, grins up at this new arrival. She says, "Oh, look at that! Word! Information! I'm a big fan of that. Who are you?"
I am Zephyrus Brimstone. I am Syndra's companion and bodyguard. And she has given me instructions to lead you all to the dining room.
Now, Caylona, you have seen Zephyrus before in this position. The rest of you have not. The last time that you were here, Zephyrus was here, but before any you and Cinder discussed anything, Zephyrus was dismissed. So you never really talked to him a whole lot, but you have seen him before.
Okay. She just kind of like looks at him, recognizes it, and like files it in her brain, but like doesn't make any effort to like say hi or anything.
Fair.
Div is going to kind of unintentionally, a little menacingly, like his head sort of snaps towards the new sound, and he kind of hastily steps towards Zephyrus, this absolutely towering lad, as he walks over to Zephyrus.
Hulking metal creature.
He kind of tilts his head towards him a little bit. He says, "Is Syndra all right? What is wrong?"
Zephyrus is like kind of taken aback by this. He kind of like scoffed, just like we will get. I'm sure.
So she's not all right.
For the time being.
Oh no! Oh, yeah.
All of
Mirasandra,
you who know Syndra Sylvain are aware that this is one of the most stubborn women you have ever met in your entire life. She is not the type to let anyone do anything else for her.
She hasn't been all right as long as I've known her. It's always been something with that woman.
yes, I encourage us all. Let's just say that to go and see her directly, if that's all right with you, Zeph.
The Zephyrus kind of like flexes his fingers a bit. He looks very hesitant. He's not sure if he can like trust everybody. Can I like kind of want to like
You want to do that inside scoop thing that everyone's been doing?
yeah.
Tiny British lad doesn't know what to do in the face of absolutely massive lizard. He's just sitting there like,
And Mirasandra, I'll go ahead and say that performance check will maintain. Caylona, I know you will probably go ahead and roll me deception. I think that would be something that you're doing. And Div and Jasper, I don't think you're actively trying to hide anything.
No.
Div is not actively trying to hide anything. He is genuinely concerned for his friend.
Oh my goodness.
Being an actor, Jasper's not right now. This man is as pure of heart, broad of chest, and dumb of ass as they get.
I love him.
I didn't
I'm
fake my
such a
death on
big fan
YouTube
of
for
him.
views. I was acting.
The death was greatly exaggerated.
Okay,
Jake
Caylona got a 10. We'll say she's like thrown off by the fact that Syndra does not seem good.
Okay, I love it. What'd you get for the insight there, Zephyrus?
I forgot to roll insight. Degree if I totally spaced out. My bad. Brain.
What'd you get for insight? +4.
Yeah. I got an 11. Oh wait, do I have? Hold on.
Oh,
No,
aren't
it's an
you
11.
insightful?
So insightful.
11, you said?
Yes.
Okay. So, you see, pretty much you get the vibes from Jasper pretty quick. Jasper does nothing to hide his vibe. In fact, he does a lot of things to make the vibe even more obvious. So,
Encourage the vibes existing.
Bro's exasperating in the vibes.
same thing as Mirasandra. She seems genuine and curious, fairly happy to be here. Div, you also look at, and you can tell genuine concern there. Caylona, you can just barely tell that there's concern, but there's a careful mask in place to not let a whole lot through. But there is, when you come down instead of Syndra, varying levels of visible concern on everyone's faces.
Right. Makes sense.
But you do see Gerald looks towards you and he nods just slightly.
As Gerald does that, I think Zeph just kind of like relaxes visibly when he sees that. He's just like, all right, well, suppose since we're all here, we can get to the point. Let's explain. And he's going to lead them to Syndra's study.
All right. So when so you walk up this grand staircase that Syndra has in the center here. She's made it a point to have these railings made out of varying different woods that she's gotten from all over the place, anywhere from the Eldine reaches to Zendrick. And when Zephyrus shows you up the stairway into her study, this is further up than you've gone before. A lot of you have gone to the second floor, excluding Caylona. Caylona, you've been in this room before. But you have sat in her sitting room, in her parlor, and in her dining room, but you have never been to her personal study. When you walk into the room, you are met by the warmth of a fire, which is good because it's rather cool this time of year in Eberron, especially this high up in Sharn. And you see there are shelves of books in between large mirrors on the back walls and a fireplace in the middle, which has another shelf on top of it. You can see in the parts of the wall that aren't covered in bookcases, and in some cases even the parts that are, there are maps from everywhere across the world, placed everywhere with there's notations and markings all across it. There's a large desk in the center, and there are several chairs just positioned to face outwards towards the windows, which face outwards towards the even larger window, which makes you can basically, it's a very, very good view from here.
I'm sure it is.
And you see Sindra Sylvain sitting in a chair in front of you, but she doesn't have that confident posture that she usually does. And she's not wearing her typical merchant's outfit either. In fact, she seems to be more of a huddled form, covered in blankets. And she's facing away from you right now. But you can also see peeking up from those blankets around her neck are what looks to be bandages.
Div is very concerned. He may be blind, but he can just feel the absolute lack of life in this normally full of life woman. And he's like,
Scott?
No.
Oh, wait. Sorry, when Div's done.
You're good. I'm done.
Is it the death curse?
You have never seen the death curse.
Scott, is it the death curse?
You have never seen the death curse.
Oh.
I have never seen anything, technically.
That's a good point. So, as you walk into the room, with a chuckle, you hear her voice far raspier and far weaker than you've ever heard it before. You even have to strain to hear her as she says, I told Zephyrus to bring you folks food before you came up here.
That's all fine and good, and you know how much I
Food
adore
was
food.
promised.
But Sylvain, what is up? Like we weren't gonna just sit down there. We could tell, and it. Oh, I am not reassured.
I
What
could
is-
have eaten.
David's going to walk
chuckles.
over to her.
Div, when you walk over to her, you can see her hair is matted. She normally keeps it very, it's bright silver. She is an older woman. She's in her 60s, but you'd never know it. And her hair is just this like silvery color, but it's matted and not well maintained, like it typically is from her. As she's sitting in this chair, you come around to meet, and she kind of just lets out a slow chuckle again, which half turns into a cough, and she's just like, sorry, I must apologize. Welcome to my estate, my friends. I wish I could see you in better condition. I am sorry that this occasion is the reason for all of you meeting each other, but I assure you, you are standing in some of Carré's finest company.
Of course, I'm here.
Good to see you, Jasper. Tell me, how are your parents doing?
They're doing lovely. Father was finally able to retire. Mother's just enjoying his company at home.
Oh, that's excellent. That's excellent. He's been trying to do that for a long time.
He
And she kind of
deserves.
gestures and smiles towards the rest of you, and she says, "You know, a good number of those things you saw in the entryway are courtesy of Jasper's father."
Oh, shucks.
Don't try to change the subject.
Yeah, I heard
What's
there
wrong?
was a promise of food first. I could go for some food.
She sighs and turns towards you, her chair slowly rotating around. Welcome back. Zephyrus, they're in the study talking to Cinder right now, by the way.
Okay, cool. Thank
We were
you.
supposed to go eat first? There
If
was
you would like
food?
to go eat, you can go eat. I'm going to stay here and take care of a patient.
As you kind of turn towards her, she like slowly lifts her hand, waving it away, and she says, "If you couldn't take care of me if you tried."
You have not seen
with
me try.
far less
Not seen
animation
anything.
than you'd normally expect from her. And as she turns towards you, you can see the only part of her that's not covered is her face. And on her face, you can see what looks to be bright red markings, almost like a wound that's on its way towards healing but hasn't quite stopped yet. And it's shaped like a claw. 3-clawed mark across her face.
What has happened?
Well, if you're going to be so direct, I'm sure all of you have heard rumors, and she looks towards each of you, of the death curse going around. And she weakly gestures towards herself. Unfortunately, those rumors are not unfounded. Me, as well as anyone else who's died before and been brought back, seems to be slowly dying again.
Can I do a thing? My permitted doing a thing abilities.
That depends on the thing, but probably.
Great. As those kind of rasping words like settle to the ground of this study, everyone's dying again. Mirasandra like flickers, like she just kind of melts almost, turning into like an unassuming, like just like a blank mannequin of a person for just an instant, before she's replaced by somebody else. And he is a very funky, he's like
It's a
really
white man.
tired looking. He's got kind of like this pallid skin. He's this a very tired looking guy, with kind of this stringy black hair that he wears in a ponytail. He's got perpetual circles under his eyes, and his he has a similar like wound on its way to healing, not quite there, or perhaps not quite to reopening, along his neck. And he says, I really had hoped it was going to be something else.
Zephyrus towards you, and she
What?
says, I don't believe I've met you before, my friend.
What? Hello,
Who-
new friend. Jasper reaches his hand out. I'm Jasper.
Div, who are all these people?
I'm
These will
Jasper.
be our companions going forward. Marsius, I didn't hear you come in.
I've been on my way here with. I thought you were going to introduce me to your friend, not
Jasper's just
patient.
sitting there with his
I
arm
didn't
out.
know we were on our way to another patient. I thought that letter you got. Who? Do you know these people?
I'm Jasper, and his arm is still out, waiting for a handshake.
Jasper. Nice to meet you. I'm Marsius, I guess.
It's good to meet you, Marcius.
Good to meet you as well.
We'll be going on an adventure together, I assume.
I
I'm
suppose
not-
I should have known it would be another patient. I foolishly thought it wasn't.
Sindra interjects there, and she says, I'm no patient, boy. I've lived
Of course, and yet here you sit
life
dying.
tonight, and there's nothing you can do about it here. Magic will not help you. Trust me, I know.
If even half of the stories I've heard about you, madam, are true, this is nothing to some of the things you faced before, and you will come out of this fine and dandy.
But we
But
shouldn't
I
take it
have-
too lightly.
I have
Well, obviously not.
died before, as evidenced, but it's not an experience I care to repeat, especially slowly in reverse.
If it was one you were willing to repeat, you wouldn't have called us here.
Indeed.
Mirasandra looks. Marcius looks eternally uncomfortable. He's like looking around.
Now, you said your name was Marsius.
That's me. I'm Div's friend. We ran a shop together for a year.
My name is Sindra. I've met Div as well as a couple of other of your friends.
Ah.
I'm glad to be introduced to you, Marsius. And she nods and then pointedly looks at Caylona, and she says, it is still safe, child.
Kaylona's just like frozen, like not like frozen, but like very out of it. Like she registers what she said, but has no reactions to any of this.
And then she turns, and it looks like she tries to stand up, but then her arms shake and she lets go of the chairs, letting out just like a slight huff of frustration. Zephyrus, she hasn't been able to stand up for about the past 10 days. Not well, at least, enough for prolonged periods of time.
Zeph kind of like interjects, just kind of like kind of scooting close to the bed and with just like a jerk, just like with his hands out to steady her if she needs. But then goes back to just standing professionally beside her.
Well, I suppose I better get on with why I've invited you each year. I have many friends and contacts across the world. And there are many people who have been as interested in finding out about this death curse as I. My sources have managed to track down the source of the magic. We know it comes from the jungles of Cedric. And somewhere, hidden deep within, there is a magical artifact that we've deemed the soul marker that is causing this plague of magic. At first, naturally, everyone assumed it to be connected to the morning, but
That's not a plague.
we found that the correlation is in magical scale is, I hesitate to use the word, but as far as anyone can tell, coincidental at most.
That's good, right?
You could look at it like that. And she kind of smiles, and then you can see her grimace slightly as that moves the claw marking on her face. Oh, I forgot how much that hurt. She kind of mumbles under her breath. And then she says, should you be willing to accept this task, and keep in mind, none of you are being forced to, then I would have you venture to Zendrick, find this new plague, and destroy it before it claims the lives of so many, especially the lives that have already been brought back once. And she kind of chuckles and she says, death is no pleasant experience. And
No, it is not.
this is not a task I ask any of you to do lightly. I hate the fact that I cannot do it myself, but in this condition, it is difficult for me. Of course, I will offer the payment for the completion of this task. I have quite the trove of magical items and things. I think many of you could find them quite useful. I would let you have your pick after the completion of this venture.
I'm sure you do, madam, but I know at least Divinite.
Well, she kind of asks,
Say again, sorry.
are your charms still working well?
My charm. Marsius kind of raises his hand up to his ears, and you can see but besides the clothes, the only thing that was maintained between the shift there were those earrings pierced through his skin. He says, I've never met you before.
Yes, but I have a friend who.
Well then, I'm sorry, I never asked Pride that far. I guess I feel bad now that you and Div were so close enough that you didn't ask him to risk his life to save yours and also the entire world. I'm getting off topic. What I meant to say is that I'm sure returning you to health would be all the payments that friends would require. I'm feeling a little awkward now.
Marsius, stop running your mouth before we don't get a reward.
Sorry. I apologize.
She smiles faintly. Jasper, you will have.
Would love to help a friend.
Your reward. Don't you worry about that. And whether you want it or not, I will not send you into the jaws of one of the most dangerous locations in the world, especially this particular location or section of Zendrick. Peninsula, we refer to it as the Tobin Peninsula in Zendrick. It is quite the deadly location to be.
And no one's been able to bring this artifact back yet.
No, this curse, as far as we're able to tell, is relatively new, but well, let's just say even I didn't survive those jungles. And she gestures again towards her clawed face.
You're just filling me with confidence right now.
I wish to give you no illusion. This will likely be the greatest danger any of you have ever experienced.
Which might.
And many of you have experienced quite a lot of it before.
Yeah, when I said you weren't filling me with confidence, I do mean that.
She wouldn't have picked us, and she wouldn't send us if she didn't believe that we could do it. If she believed we couldn't do it, I don't think she would have reached out to us.
You didn't
Perhaps
tell me
most
this
of
was
her
gonna-
other contacts simply never returned.
You know, I'm trying to look on the bright side here, but that's not helpful.
Sindra, are you sure there is nothing here I can do for you?
As much as I respect you, Div, I have friends who are far more accomplished in the healing arts than you. I am sure one day you will gain the same, if not more, level of proficiency. But they have tried with resources they can bring to bear that, and I can bring to bear that you cannot. And not just on me either. They are far more powerful than I, being affected by this. And I have not found any solution. Neither has anyone else. Another facet of this is that those who are dead have not been able to receive miracle of resurrection magic. It has consistently failed when attempts have been made. And that magic which normally reunites soul and body seems to have cracked something, broke it. This, of course, would be the soulmonger. It would need some source of incredible power to accomplish what it does. But I have said enough for now. Are you willing to accept this task? And she turns and looks at each of you, that humor normally present in her eyes, oddly vacant. And you see a kind of sincerity and almost pleading that you never even imagined you could see in Sindra Sylvain's eyes. Except for you, Marsius, you've never seen this woman before. You have no idea.
I have no idea what's going on. I'm so confused right now. Marsius just keeps like looking over at Div. He's like,
He keeps glancing at this very serious blind lizard.
Seeing how serious she is, Jasper's shoulders kind of drop a little bit, and he bows his head down. And I accept this challenge. I will help.
Zephyr also like straightens a bit and faces her, says, I also accept.
Zephyr, you accepted this 10 days ago. What are the theatrics?
I know. I just want you to know.
Make
And I
it
want them
official.
he wanted to.
He kind of
wanted
like-
to be in the vibe. You know, he wanted to make sure he was like chilling with all these people.
Zephyr's
Oh,
kind of like
standing
looks
up.
around the room kind of like challenging all of you. He's like, I dare you to say no. Like, I dare you to say no. He's like flexing his hands again.
Div
We have
doesn't
no
really say
flex
anything.
off.
He just starts moving back towards the door, kind of hand going to grip the handle of his mace. He says, all right, I'll return eventually. He just fucking walks out.
Div, there. Wait up a second there, Div. Marsius grabs one of the charms, like the earrings, and he pulls it out of his ear, and it turns into a cane. And he kind of looks off after Marsius there. He's not like super clumsy in that regard, but he does have a very prominent limp when it comes to moving at any significant speed. He says, is this a sort of, we're going to get supplies and coming back, or you're leaving like right now? Like we're leaving immediately for Zendrick? Because
I would
I'm not
suggest
going.
that we all go.
I'm not going
together.
until I've eaten, so
You all can do as you wish. I have no need for food. I am going.
If
you won't survive out there on your own.
and the call comes from Sylvan, and it's in your head, not loud. And her voice is strong in your head, and she says, "Shut up, turn around, get back here, and you listen to me now. I will tell you how to do this. I've done my research. You haven't. Trotting off will get you nowhere. I appreciate the gesture."
I love her.
Grandma said, "Get your butt back in here."
Kind of reflexively, he does in fact do as she says.
Emma, is that a glowing baseball bat? What is going on? Oh, there.
No, I was sitting on a light. Sorry.
She turns and she says, "Zephyrus, be a dear and fetch the maps, please."
Right away. He's going to go grab them wherever they are.
So you pull out a case that she had already prepped while waiting for this particular meeting. And she lays them out on the desk. And she says, or the map out on the desk, "This is the most complete map of Zendrick I believe anyone has ever been able to create." And looking at it, you see a map on the table. I am going to send that to you.
Yay, maps!
I will do
Love
that
maps.
as we're running out of time here. And
Love maps.
she says, "This will be yours to carry with you, but keep in mind, it might fetch a very high price in the city that we're going to. And there are people who would do quite a lot to get their hands on it. Few have spent as much time exploring those jungles as I have, and fewer have made it out alive, I guess including myself. But they should at least help orient you."
You're making it sound like this map here is kind of rare, kind of important. Do you have, just making sure, like, do you have like another one? Because I don't have a great track record when it comes to preserving paper items.
Zephyrus will hold on to the map for you.
Oh, perfect. That makes me feel much better.
And
there's
like,
no
I know he
sarcasm.
won't drop anything.
There's no sarcasm in that. Marsius is like, yeah, that makes me feel a lot better. Like, straight up.
He's like, please do not entrust me with anything.
Zeph just gives him kind of like a side eye as he's like, rolling up this map. Yeah, all right, whatever. He's unnerved by Marsius, but he's fine. He's fine with it.
That's probably valid.
Caylona, you hear in your head from Cinder, her voice strong in your head as well. She says, "You don't have to go on this quest, but it is a necessary step before we can accomplish other things."
That's to me, right? Sorry.
That's to Caylona.
Oh, to Caylona. Okay, that makes sense.
Mhm.
Make
Kaylona
trade deals if she's
responds.
dead.
Kaylona responds and she says, "Oh, you know me. I'm not gonna hesitate. We're definitely going."
You can see her just smile a little bit out loud, but she doesn't say anything to the rest of the.
You can smile out loud. Oh my god.
Yep, she sure can. She's a talented woman.
She could do anything she wants.
Except live,
Yeah.
apparently, right now.
Apparently.
No. No.
Jasper, I will punch you.
And she chuckles and she says, "I will be coming with you to Zendrick."
Absolutely not.
She gives you.
You are in no state to
glare.
go anywhere.
I can, will, and I have this matter decided. I will
She's a
stay
grown
with a
woman. She can
friend.
do what she wants.
Trust me, I've had this argument with her before. She will not be persuaded. I've tried.
Zephyrus is like, I've been arguing with her for the past like 3 months.
She nods as you kind of just like pipe down. Good, smart decision. Giving you this kind of look, despite the rasp in her voice, and she says, "I have a friend I will stay with there. I have many good friends. Plus, I'd rather be closer than far away. Zendrick is warm this time of year anyway. Zendrick is always warmer. It's a jungle."
Climates. Never really understood those.
Quite an interesting. Never mind. If you wish to leave, we leave tomorrow. I've booked us passage on a sky ship with a captain I trust.
Kaylona goes a little bit tense at that, but other than that, there's no reaction.
Lore.
Then she says, "But Jasper is right. Many of you don't get enough food these days anyway, and I have prepared, or my cooks have, quite the meal for you. I suggest you eat and rest. You will, of course, be staying here if you need to. Jasper, I'll assume you'll want to say goodbye to your family, but..."
Yes. As much as I love your home, Sharn is my home still, and I have a lot of people I do love and care about and would like to say goodbye. After we eat, no offense to anybody here, but I will be leaving and returning in the morning.
We will meet in the morning at the dock. You may meet us there directly. No need to take a round trip. You know where the sky dock is.
Yes.
Good. Well, you may go and eat and stay here tonight. I will see you in the morning, and then we will be off to Zendrick.
Huzzah! Food!
I do like food. I do enjoy that.
One thing we do have in common, friend.
So you head out.
The bar is so incredibly low.
Eat this feast that Syndra has prepared for you, and that is where we will stop for this week. Thanks for jumping in, everybody. We will see you next week, and it has been a pleasure playing.